All right, I'm on the phone with the Maine Maritime Academy men's head basketball coach, David Mushnick. And, Coach, you're just off the plane coming back from Tennessee. Tell us a little bit about your trip. I know you don't want to go into names, but tell us a little bit about why you're out recruiting this time of the year, and then we'll talk about last week and then look ahead to this week.
Sure. Just looking at the schedule, I mean, this was the first week in January that we didn't have a midweek game in addition to the weekend doubleheaders. So it was a chance for me to hop on a plane and see an incoming freshman that we're going to have here next year from Tennessee, and we're really excited about him. And we got another commitment from Maine the other day as well, a local kid that we really like that has had a really good high school career and plays on an excellent high school team. So we recruited 4 guys in the state of Maine really hard, and it looks like that if everybody stays true to their word, so to speak, that we'll have all 4 guys here next year, and then this individual from Tennessee and a couple others we're still working on from out of state. So our recruiting is looking good right now, and it was also a chance for our guys our current team to get away for a day or two. We had another tough weekend this weekend, and I thought it was good to kind of hit the reset button a little bit and have a couple days away from the coach and a couple days away from the gym, and be able to come back to the practice court yesterday and with a little bit more energy and focus. And I thought we did that last night, and then we practiced this morning before heading on the road this afternoon to New Hampshire. So I think it's worked out, at least with the practices that we've had, and hopefully it translates to 2 games this weekend.
So you're down into New Hampshire. You play Colby Sawyer on Friday night, and then New England College at Henniker on Saturday. Tell us about those games, if you would.
Yeah, Colby Sawyer won the league last year. They're very good. They're second place in our conference right now. And they have 2 very, very good players in Peter Donato, a 6'6", 4-man who plays the post for them, and then Woj Mahong, who's a very athletic 6'2", 6'3" athletic guard and a good shooter as well. So those 2 guys are guys we have to contain with. But it's one of those things. They match up really. I guess we match up really well with them in the sense that the Peter Donato was the player of the year in the conference last year, and when we played them in December here at home, he shot 6 of 20 from the field, and one of the reasons we were able to hold him to a low percentage is Tyler Gilson's post defense, a little bit bigger body on him. Donato was a little bit skinnier, more athletic, very good jumper, where Gilson's more of that physical, wide body post guy, and it gave him a little bit of trouble the first time. So, we're gonna go at him man to man and see what see what we can do with that. But the last 2 games we've played them, Chris, and I know they've both been at home, but last year the second time we played them in the second semester, and then this past season here in December, this past game, we lost to them by 3 last year, and we lost to them by 2 here at home in December. So we've had some success with them the last couple times we've played them, being right there, having a chance to tie or take the lead in the last minute or so, and the 2 games this past weekend with Green Mountain and Castleton. We're still a very inexperienced team with closing out basketball games, and we have to do a better job of that and not making as many mistakes as we've had here recently, and hopefully some close games here down the stretch we could pull a couple of them out. And New England College we beat in December, had a really good game, maybe the best game we've played all year. They've got a very good player in Desron Wilson, is one of the best players in the conference, but we did a pretty good job on him the first time we played him as well. So there are 2 teams that we match up well with, 2 teams that we've played very tough here recently a few weeks ago, and but going on the road is obviously a different animal, and we need to be ready to play.
I was going to say you were escaping when you went down to Tennessee for the warmer weather, but they had the blizzard down. Or did Tennessee get hit by the blizzard?
Yeah, so they said that they only went to school 2 days last week. Yeah. They had Martin Luther King Day off on Monday, and then they were off Tuesday they had school, Wednesday, Thursday they were off with the weather, and then Friday they got back to class. And I said, how much snow did you have? And the father just shook his head, like a couple inches, coach. It was nothing. But, got people down south. I was driving in rain, and people were driving like 20 miles below the speed limit. So, it's just a little bit different down there, and that's quite all right. But, in New York, they had 2 feet of snow, and I think they were back to school the next day.
Well, it's obviously in the order of, I guess, toughness. You've got Mainers, and then we'll go to New Yorkers. But those Tennessee people, the Tennesseans, I guess maybe they call them, they're going to be down at around 47 or 48 in the top 50.
Yeah, well, just even if you say the word snow on the weather report, people stop going to work. So but it's different. It was a good trip. Like I said, it was a good trip, and got to see him play, and got to spend some time with the family, and again, it was a good chance for our guys to kind of get away from practice for a day or two also, and hit the reset button. And I wouldn't have done it. I just personally don't believe in ever leaving practice or not being at practice to go recruiting, because my loyalty is to the guys that are in our program right now in uniform, that are going to battle every day, and obviously our recruiting is a big part of moving our program forward and trying to bring some more size and some length and depth in here. But ultimately, I would not have ever done this trip if we were practicing the last couple of days, but with a little bit of a break in the schedule and a chance for us to get away from our players to get away from us for a couple of days, rest up with some bangs and bruises. It was a chance for a lot of good things to happen over the first 2 days of this week, and again, it translated into good practices last night and this morning, so I was happy with it.
Well, and I appreciate everything you said, but when you're out recruiting nationwide, and you're a family from Tennessee, you're sending your child up to Maine. That's a heck of a long journey, and it's nice for them to have that relationship with the coach and know that, you're trying to build a family-type atmosphere, and it all goes to that reassuring and helps with the commitment. I know, the same kind of thing when my son went from Maine out to Southwest Minnesota State. It's that same kind of thing. It's like, oh my God, it's a different world, and it's nice to have that relationship with the coach, and that you look him in the eye, and you're going to take care of my boy, right? And but that's all part of the recruiting effort.
No question about it, Chris, and it's actually a very unique situation. So this individual, without being able to mention his name, I've been talking with him since he was a sophomore, and I was still at the Merchant Marine Academy. So he had an interest in going into the maritime industry, and he wants to be a ship captain. A lot of what Matt Ketchen came here for, went to Bar Harbor MDI, and we got to talk about that when he was here for Alumni Weekend last weekend. And but this individual, he had contacted me when I was at Kings Point as a sophomore, and we started to get more in contact with each other when I first got the job here. He was one of the first calls I made, and he was still a junior at the time, and just relationships are a big part of recruiting. Relationships with the student athletes, relationships with the families, like you said, and this family took a trip up here in October to see Maine Maritime, and absolutely loved the school, loved the area. They drove around Arcadia National Park and Bar Harbor, and they flew into Boston. They went to Springfield with the Basketball Hall of Fame. They made a really nice family trip, and you're right. The chance to be able to go down, and I spent 24 hours, trains, planes, and automobiles to go down and see them, and you spend 2 or 3 hours with them. You spend a little bit of time before the game. You watch them play. You spend a little time with the parents during the game is playing, and then you see him for 5 or 10 minutes before he goes on the bus, and then you're driving back to the airport, and they're driving back home, and but it's that face-to-face connection that that makes a lot of difference. You're right, and with DJ Harris from California that we have as a freshman, I went out to see him play in the state tournament last year, and he told me his commitment to come to Maine Maritime over pancakes and eggs after his game, and just to be able to shake somebody's hand and look them in the eye for the student athlete, for the parents, and for the coach is a really valuable thing. And you're right. I mean, the family atmosphere that we're building here, all those face-to-face interactions are really important when you're not just down the road, down in half an hour down the road or an hour down the road, and it's a flight or two to get here to Maine and back down to Tennessee where they're from. It's a really nice thing when you're able to do that interaction face-to-face, and I was happy to do it for sure.
All right, Coach, have a good weekend. I know you got to get on the bus, and we'll talk to you next week and see how things are going.
Sounds good, Chris. Thanks a lot.